Good evening, you're watching Left, Right and Centre. I'm Nidhi Razdan. On Friday, the Haryana Assembly witnessed a Jain monk, Tarun Sagar, giving a sermon to all MLAs in the House. He was seated, naked, on a dais above the governor, the chief minister and all the legislators. And among the many subjects he talked about was a metaphor on dharma and politics, where he spoke of a wife's duties in subservience to her husband. Almost all political parties found nothing wrong with this, with asking a religious leader to give a sermon inside an assembly. The Aam Aadmi Party's key supporter Vishal Dadlani took a dig at the monk on Twitter but then apologized when Kejriwal rebuked him publicly. In fact, Dadlani quit the party and now faces an FIR. Political commentator Tehseen Poonawala, who's also a Congress supporter, also came under attack for his tweets on the subject. The question is this a case of free speech gone too far, or should religious leaders be addressing legislatures at all? Joining us on the program tonight from the BJP, its national spokesperson, Mr. GVL Rao. Ashutosh from the Aam Aadmi Party joins us tonight. Mr. D. Raja of the CPI, Member of Parliament, joins us this evening. Tehseen Poonawala, who's been at the centre of the storm, along with Vishal Dadlani, is here in the studio. And senior journalist Siddharth Bhatia joins us tonight from Mumbai. Siddharth Bhatia, to you first. Stepping back from all the politics and all of this, how do you see this, the very principle of inviting any religious leader to address a legislature?
Let's be clear about two or three differences here. Let's not say a religious leader should not address politicians. Of course, he is free to if they want him, but not in the assembly. It has been said that this was after the regular assembly hours. It doesn't matter. It was in the assembly hall, and he sat above constitutional posts. So it goes against the constitution, because the constitution clearly says the religion and the state should be separate. That's one. Secondly, I personally have a lot of objection to the things he said. Of course, the misogynist remarks, also talking in terms of how politics and religion should be intertwined and politics should be subservient. So I have very serious problems with what has happened. I do not have problems with him speaking to legislators, but I have problems with where he has spoken. I think it's clearly against the constitution, and I have problems with the message he has given, which is very, very misogynistic. In the current climate, when you have ministers saying all kinds of things about women, as also other people, and there are atrocities on women, I think this was a terrible idea.
Well,
and I'm really shocked that every politician in the Haryana Assembly welcomed it. That has shocked me even further.
Well, it shocked you, but many would say it doesn't really surprise us, given how politics and religion has often got mixed in this country. Mr. GVR Rao, I'll take that question to you next. Siddharth Bhatia says it's okay for him to have addressed, or any religious leader to address legislator. It shouldn't happen in the assembly per se. And also the messaging that went out is something that many people have raised, this whole thing about the wife being subservient to the husband and so on. How would you see this, Mr. Rao?
No, Nidhi, I think it's a common practice even in the Western parliaments for religious leaders to even address legislature. So it's not a first of its kind. And certainly someone like Tarun Sagar, Jain monk, Tarun Sagar ji Maharaj ji, I think entire political spectrum in the assembly had welcomed it. And you have seen how Pope Francis has been invited by joint session of the US Congress. He had addressed even the European Parliament. So I don't think, let's not make a big hue and cry about it. I think what he talked about is primarily about purifying politics. I think if anything, he has only given a message of positivity in politics and purifying politics. We take strong objection to Aam Aadmi Party leaders and Congress leaders making statements which are very offensive to the members of the religion. And I think it's the time for them to apologize, because you cannot be seen to be negative or anti a particular minority. You've seen how Aam Aadmi Party had done this in Punjab also, how they had desecrated the Guru Granth Sahib, sacred book of a Sikh community. I think you cannot have any party doing this all the time. And no party would ever dare do it with the Muslim community.
Just on the point of what he said in the assembly,
like the Jains,
if I could just raise the point on what he said in the assembly, he said religion, he talked about religion and politics like husband and wife, and basically said that the wife should accept the discipline of the husband, and in turn also essentially meant that political leaders should be listening to religious leaders. Now, these are two different statements. One is seen, which a lot of women and others have found misogynist, and said that why should a wife, why should you talk about a metaphor of a wife accepting the discipline of her husband? And also, our constitution didn't envisage political leaders listening to religious leaders, and that is actually even more problematic according to many. Mr. Rao.
No, I think, Nidhi, I gave you the examples of the US Congress and European parliaments inviting Pope Francis. I think, so I don't think we have...
I'm talking about the content of his speech.
So we are really not mixing up religion with politics by inviting someone to address members of legislature or members of parliament.
But do you agree with the content of his speech?
A monk like Tarun Sagar ji only has a positive message. And
so you agree with what he said?
We don't think we should politicize these interactions.
So you agree with what he said? A woman should be subservient to her husband?
No, I'm not giving my personal opinion. I think certainly... No, I think as a religious leader, he had placed certain facts before people, and the larger message I see, this purifying politics, and according to him, even a tinge of religion in politics which has a positive influence on it is welcome. What you have today is negative influence of religion on politics and vote bank politics practiced by many parties.
Okay,
that's not what we are
I'll get a response from the other parties. And Tehseen Poonawala, what GVL Rao is saying is that, is there a hypocrisy in this argument when you see, if Western countries can invite the Pope to speak to them, and that's an example he's given more than once, what is the big deal in asking religious leaders here to come and address legislatures?
So I have 3 to 4 points to make, and I'll make them each at a time. To GVL's first point that America allowed Pope to come in, let me give a very technical answer. The American Constitution does have the word God in it. The Indian Constitution does not. There was a reason why our founding fathers kept God out of Bhagwan, Allah out of our Constitution, and this was exactly the reason. Point number 1. Point number 2, I will ask GVLG, but I will not expect a response from him. I don't want a response from him. Instead of this particular guru, let's assume hypothetically it was a Muslim imam addressing the Indian Parliament, seated above the Prime Minister President and speaking about Sharia laws as an example. How would GVLG react today? Let's be very clear on that. You know the reaction, I know his reaction. But that's hypothetical, keep it out. Mixing religion with politics is problematic. It is problematic because our constitution does not envisage it. And I do have a problem with what the monk said. I've just got married. It is not for my wife to be obedient, subservient to me. It is not for me to discipline her. I am sorry. These were wrong examples. These are not examples that should have been given in an elected assembly. And if somebody has a problem with expressing free speech about a monk that has addressed, or anybody that's addressed a parliament or an assembly, and he gives me the example from America. So in America, there were many free thinkers who had a problem with the Pope addressing their assemblies or their houses. Nobody was trolled, nobody was abused, nobody was threatened.
Your tweet has come in for a lot of criticism for being distasteful. Many people have criticized you today, saying, Tehseen, that your speech crossed a line and it was offensive.
The fact of the matter is, I find what is being said by the ministers in this government, what was said in that assembly, offensive. It is not for a woman to be subservient to her husband. It is not for a husband to discipline his wife. It is not for women not to wear skirts when they come to India. I find that offensive. I am sorry, there is a hypocrisy in our country. And the women of our country have the same right on our country as men do. I think there is enough of this hypocrisy that needs to be called out. This bluff needs to be called out. And certainly, for a party, for a prime minister that talks of Beti Bachao, Beti Badhao, Beti Khilao, they have been threatening my mother and my wife on social media. What kind of a hypocrisy is that for them to respect, be religious, accept all sorts of viewpoints? Why would you threaten my family?
Congress leaders in the assembly were as supportive of the speech as other parties, which is the point I'm coming to next. It's not just BJP.
And my problem is mixing politics
with religion.
All political
So Ashutosh, the AAP was supposed to be different. The AAP was supposed to be the party that was going to be different from the kind of politics that the BJP and the Congress did. How are you different if today Vishal Dadlani feels the need to quit because he expressed a point of view that was contrary to what Mr. Arvind Kejriwal feels?
I think the controversy should end because Vishal Dadlani has apologized and he has quit the party, and Arvind Kejriwal and Satyendra Jain, they have also apologized. But let me also tell you one thing very frankly, that here is a much serious issue. The issue is that whether a religious guru should address assembly and parliament or not. That's a fundamental question. I think according to the constitution, every private citizen has a right to be a member of the parliament, and if sovereign assembly wants him to address assembly, nobody should have any problem. But the question is, should a religious leader be allowed to address assembly at the parliament? That is something which needs to be debated. According to our constitution, it very clearly underlines the fact that religion and politics should be separate. And that is where the great debate between the Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru and the first president of India, Dr. Rajendra Prasad, was there, when Rajendra Prasad as a president wanted to go and visit Somnath temple inauguration. The whole debate is over there. Now the point number 3 which I want to mention, and I want to ask this particular question to our BJP friend, Mr. GVL Narasimha. The Jain Muni Tarun Sagar has said, and I seriously want BJP to react on this, in a show on NDTV India, Tarun Sagar ji has said to Nidhi Kulpati, and I quote verbatim, कि हर घर को 100 साल के बाद गिरा देना चाहिए और हर धर्म को 1000 साल के बाद गिरा देना चाहिए, जला देना चाहिए. He said that after every 1000 years, the religion should be burnt. These are not my words. This is not the word of Aam Aadmi Party. This is the word of Tarun Sagar ji, Jain saint, who addressed. I specifically want BJP to react on this.
But
Arvind
Kejriwal says he respects Tarun Sagar a lot. Do you? I mean, how can you can't say on one hand? One second, Ashutosh, you can't say that the AAP is still debating whether religion and politics should come together, and yet you've made it very clear from the reaction of the past 2 days that you are also mixing up religion and politics just like every other party is. That's the question I'm asking. Why should Vishal Dadlani have had to apologize for a point of view? He has a point of view. You don't have to agree with him, but he didn't feel religion and politics should be mixed. Maybe he could have worded his tweet differently. Maybe that was in poor taste. But how is the AAP different is my question.
See, it's not. No, it's not a question of mixing religion with politics. Vishal Dadlani has what Vishal Dadlani has said. It was a personal comment about Tarun Sagar ji. That is where the problem lies. It's not a question of mixing religion and politics. We are very clear that religion and politics should not be mixed. Arvind Kejriwal is very clear on that point. But can Vishal Dadlani seem to be insulting any religious guru? That is where he has to apologize. And he has apologized. The party is very clear on that.
So
you're
saying it was a personal attack, which is where you had a problem. But let me just come to Mr. D. Raja, because the left parties are among the very few political parties, actually, Mr. Raja, who have been sticking their necks out and saying, you don't think religion and politics have a place in this country. That's what the constitution had envisaged, and that's how it should be. Mr. Raja.
Firstly, I agree with Mr. Siddharth. While making the constitution, Dr. Ambedkar made it very clear there cannot be any place for theocracy in India. India should emerge as a sovereign, secular, democratic republic. Ambedkar was very clear. Our constitution is the fundamental law of the land. Our constitution is very clear. What happened in the Assembly of Haryana is just nothing but to open up another Pandora's box. And whether in India, country like India, whether the religious leaders can be invited to address assemblies, elected parliament, that is the question. And Dr. Ambedkar never visualized such a situation. Dr. Ambedkar was very clear. India is a secular democratic republic. While making the constitution as well as performing as a law minister, Ambedkar emphasized equally the gender equality, the gender justice, of our women. But what is happening today in the name of religion, women are being undermined, and all Dalits and downtrodden sections of our society are being undermined. And now people keep talking about loss of Manusmriti. So let us understand, we are a nation of diverse religions. We are a nation of tremendous diversities. That is why Dr. Ambedkar was a great visionary, a great genius. He made it very clear, and there cannot be place for theocracy. And India can never become a theocratic state, should never become a theocratic state.
That's a very
India
important
should
point.
emerge as a sovereign, secular, democratic republic. And I don't mind if President of India, the head of the state, goes and addresses some elected state assemblies. It is a different issue. Mr. K.R. Narayan addressed state assemblies. Dr. Kalam addressed state assemblies.
But that's completely
One can
different.
understand.
But
how can you invite religious leaders to address elected state assemblies?
The point is, Mr. Rao, what Mr. Raja said, and the question that Ashutosh raised as well, is that does this open up a Pandora's box? Tomorrow, will an imam be invited to address another assembly or parliament, as Tehseen asked? Would that be justified? Any religion, would somebody from the Christian faith be invited? Would that be okay? Where does it stop, Mr. Rao?
No, I think being a secular state, I think the term was actually inducted in our constitution much later. But we are completely a secular state. So is the United States of America. So is the European Parliament. Inviting some people of distinguished background who have something of substance, some good message for the members of legislature and parliament does not take away the nature of a particular state. It does not make us really a theocratic state by having a speaker from a particular religion. And you see, look at the hypocrisy of the party. You're trying to, they've made controversial comments about someone like Tarun Sagar ji, but Zakir Naik does not invite someone who has been propounding a lot of hate speech, someone who's been radicalizing a community. The Congress and AAP have been completely silent. If at all, they've been only supporting him.
Exactly.
So I think you have to
you are communalizing the very proceedings of elected assemblies.
The personality and the kind of message that he has.
But what is the message, Mr. Rao? I ask you again, the message about a wife being subservient to the husband, about politics being subservient to religion. In other words, religion takes precedence over politics. That was his message. I'm asking, does the BJP agree with that? Is India turning into a theocratic state?
Can I just respond to that?
Yeah.
When you have
Sure.
No, when you have a distinguished guest, you see, we have had a lot of state guests addressing our joint session of our parliament. It does not mean we agree to everything that they say, but it does not mean that you should not listen to them. I think every statement that any religious guru makes, we may not agree, but as long as the broad message is meant for purifying politics or a betterment of politics, I think we have to welcome it. It doesn't mean that we have become spokespersons for a particular religious sect or faith.
Siddharth Bhatia, GVL Rao says there's a hypocrisy, there's a political hypocrisy on this issue because you have a Jain monk who's addressed an assembly, and we may not necessarily agree with everything that he said, but that he's been invited as a guest, and we're making too much of a big deal. If they can do it in the West, why can't we? Siddharth.
Firstly, let's be clear, the Pope is the head of state when he speaks. Secondly, I don't care what America or Europe does. I really don't care. We are sitting in this country. We have to look at our constitution. Our constitution clearly says India is not a theocracy. Thirdly, and I must repeat this over and over again, nobody argues against a Jain monk or anybody else talking to a group of parliamentarians. Though one might say, why are parliamentarians giving that much time or whatever to a religious head? But nobody would object to it. The question here is the imagery, the symbolism of somebody sitting above constitutional posts, the message that politics and religion, who is superior, the message, which is also a socially very, very backward message, which takes us back hundreds of years. Nidhi, you do not have a female on this panel today, except for you. If there was a woman here, she would be really upset to hear that there are people here defending the fact that a woman is subservient to her husband in 2016. What kind of country do we want to create?
Ashutosh,
and that this kind of message is being defended today to say, you know, here there is a lot of wonderful message about purity in politics. This is complete rubbish. I think this is a slippery slope. Now you can invite anybody from here. It doesn't matter. This is a very slippery slope. And I think there should be some mechanism to ensure it doesn't happen again.
Yeah, okay. So, Ashutosh, last comments and then Tehseen. Yes, Ashutosh.
See, I have a problem with the BJP for the simple reason, because one of the panelists has said that if some assembly has invited some Maulvi and the Maulana, and that Maulvi and Maulana would have addressed assembly, it would have been very interesting to find out what was the reaction of the BJP and the RSS and the Modi government. That's the point number one. The point number two, Narasimha is talking about purification of the religion, purification of the politics. I have a problem with this word purification. Why purification? Because this is this concept and idea of purification which has led to cleansing of people in the different communities, not only in India but also in Germany and other places. So let's not get into this. The fact is that if a religious guru wants to talk about poverty, unemployment, on the secular issues in an assembly, he should be welcome. But if he's coming over there to preach religion, and he's talking about religious issues, then I have a serious problem. So he should be invited as a private citizen who wants to discuss, debate, talk about the secular issues, employment,
but can a religious leader be a private citizen?
Mr. Raja, but not the religious issues.
Last comments from Mr. Raja first. Mr. Raja, can a private citizen, can a religious leader be just a private citizen? Can we make that distinction, or is this a slippery slope, as Siddharth Bhatia says?
You see, legislative assemblies, elected parliament, they all represent the will of the people. And the will of the people, when I say, let us respect the constitution of the country. And if you want to purify politics, if you want to purify religion, if you want to purify the social life, again I refer to Dr. Ambedkar, let us all try to uphold the constitutional morality. And I ask BJP or other outfits who talk in terms of religious fundamentalism, do they uphold constitutional morality? Do they respect the citizens' rights? Do they respect the gender equality? That is the issue. So we should respect the constitution, and this is a very wrong precedent, and it opens Pandora's box. Tomorrow anybody can make a demand.
I think what the story has done, as you pointed out, is it's certainly brought about a debate on very fundamental issues, and there are clearly very many different opinions on that as well, about perhaps what was very strong language used to express an opinion that was unnecessary. Tehseen, I asked that question to you, but fundamentally, what was the message that was being conveyed by the Jain monk? That is also a question that is being raised. So very many complexities to this debate. Thank you very much to all of you for joining us on the program tonight. We'll see you again tomorrow. Goodbye.